Welcome to the chaos sector. We will now examine the Linda Lane audio. The 1 a.m. timeframe needs to be examined, but the 2 a.m. timeframe is what raised the red flag. So don't worry, it will all be examined in segments. Let's just jump right in. There is a female heard in the distance, as it sounds like it's coming from Queen Road Apartments. I can't really make out what she is saying, but the tone of her voice does seem as if there is a concern for something. She has a pleading tone in her voice, trying to get someone to listen or believe her about something. I tried to piece it together, and this is what I came up with. I definitely hear a question in the beginning, such as why did you, or why didn't you? The next segment is a bit unintelligible, but we know there is a question, so we can determine the issue is urgent. The next segment sounds like the word stop, and then finally, please stop. Let's listen once more. Doesn't seem too far off, right? Actually, I think I pieced together a reasonable statement. Quote, why didn't you call the first time? Then, it sounds like she was interrupted by something, or someone, as we hear a physical force. There is fear in her voice, as she says, stop, then, please stop. We know the mind can play tricks on you, as you're hearing what is suggested, but words can be deciphered through distortion, you just have to piece together a logical statement. Considering the female is concerned about something, the logical statement aligns with the concern she had. That's the very definition of deciphering. I will add an audio effect to that segment to see if the words can be deciphered better. Examine. I would say that it's as close to what was stated, without knowing exactly what was stated. Obviously, the tone in her voice is based on pleading with someone, such as asking for help about something. Of course, I could be wrong. But I could be right. Let's continue. Not sure what that sound was, perhaps it's from rusty axles from a vehicle. But at this point, there is someone heard running near Linda Lane Apartments. There is also a male heard, and a group heard laughing, a female, and what sounds like a group of males. Did you catch it? A male says Ethan's name. The audio has been distorted in my opinion, but certain words, or statements that are clearly heard, such as Ethan's name, can't be distorted to the point the words are indistinguishable, you understand? Just enough to fuzzy everything up, assuming nobody would go as far as extracting the audio. Other audio, which is hard to decipher in its original state, are essentially left as is. Some think audio in the surveillance leaked is fake. I wouldn't say it's fake in the sense it's made up, rather, it's edited to the point it sounds like it's fake. So when you hear it, you believe the audio has been placed into the surveillance. Clever tricks, but tricks are for kids, my friends. A female states, "Oh my God," and a male says Ethan's name. Now, the manner in which she makes this statement clearly indicates there is something violent that has taken place. It's not a typical OMG reaction or response, it's literally an OMG response to something that startled her. If she was startled or even shocked, and the male says Ethan's name, isn't it logical to suggest that Ethan had been harmed, or even was discovered deceased? Let's examine once more, with an audio filter. Now we all heard it together, that male called Ethan's name. This was approximately around 2:21 a.m. Something tells me that they are searching for Ethan. Not sure who these individuals are, but based on what I'm detecting as far as the setting, I think Ethan has, quote, disappeared. Which indicates that in this particular area, which ranges from the victim's home, Queen Road Apartments, and Linda Lane Apartments, Ethan was somewhere around there at some point. It's a possibility. Mind you, it is reported that Ethan and Xana got home around 1:45 a.m. This is approximately 2:20 a.m. It's possible that Ethan was taken somewhere. Not gonna dig too deep into a possible theory there, let's continue first, and put pieces together at the end. Now clearly there is something going on here, which is cause for concern. The female says something, I will try to decipher in a moment. But the male is heard saying, "No, no, no," as if he was scared of the female screaming something out. And surely, that's what she did. Let's listen once more, to decipher what was said, because obviously the male was scared to death about what was going on. I can't really make out what the female is saying, but clearly she's pissed off. But I think I detected the word, police, in there at the end. And it would explain why the male doesn't want her to say anything, as he doesn't want the police to get involved. Remember, these college students are a part of fraternities and sororities, who do not call the police about internal issues. Even knowing one of the frat members were clearly missing, or in danger. But the female had enough, and wanted to call the police. And the male is telling her no. If this assumption is in fact what she stated, then that male had become aggressive with her mentioning the police. The sounds of the letters E and S are detected. Release, lease, peace, police, decease, listen, there aren't many words that have this sound that fit the scenario of what we assume to be some form of emergency. The first half of the word, or the first syllables, indicate it's a two-syllable word being stated. Now we know the letters E and S are heard as the other syllables at the end, which create the E sound. There aren't many words that fit the scenario. Decease fits the scenario, police fit the scenario, and even release fits the scenario. It sounds distorted to me, which indicates she did mention the police. And then there's the first segment of her statement. Listening to it more and more, it sounds like, quote, "You lied," unquote. And when she yells it, she just yells lied, without the word, you, connected to it, you understand? Initially she is speaking at normal pitch, as she tells the guy, quote, "You lied." And this is when he starts to tell her no, no, no. Then she gets angry, and just yells lied out. But I believe she did mention the police, in which she may have mentioned it prior as well. This is why the male got nervous. Because we have experience in analyzing video and audio, I want to briefly address a technique used in music, called backmasking. Backmasking is an audio editing technique that reveals hidden messages in vocals of a song. Of course, it's deemed evil or satanic by those who analyze or investigate, as many claim that is the truth of what the artist is saying behind the cloak of the song presented. I believe backmasking was used with the voices in that surveillance, as there are moments of echoing effects of the words before the words are spoken in real time. You can't have this happen unless the audio of the person speaking has been backmasked. It generates the quote, swishy echoing effect of the vocals. What I heard, and not to get spooky, was quote, they all dead, unquote. Let's listen. It's spooky, because the quote, ghost, is telling the male they all dead, and he is in denial, saying no no no. That's fucking creepy. There was also another female heard, who was a bit nervous about it. Now to cover all bases here, there seems to be another name called, which is similar to Ethan, and that would be Aiden, or Eden. We assume this is the name of the female yelling. But there is a difference, my friends. The syllables in Ethan can be detected clearer by the male. Aiden, or Eden, is clear as well, but the TH sound of Ethan is stressed by the tongue more than the ID sound of Aiden or Eden. Let's compare both sounds to confirm that different names were called. First we examine what is assumed to be Ethan's name called. If you listen closely, the E sound is obviously detected, but it's the TH in Ethan's name, which is stressed more. That of course, well, makes his name heard in those segments. Now let's examine what is assumed to be either Aiden or Eden. This is different than the name prior. There are two different stress levels of each name. The D sound of either Aiden or Eden does not have the same stress level as the TH sound in Ethan. Meaning, the TH sound requires the tongue to extend outwards, pressing against the teeth, to form the TH sound. You can't pronounce Ethan's name without this action. Go ahead, say Ethan's name, and you'll see the difference. So based on a little English class work, we know Ethan's name was called. But we can suggest a female named either Aiden or Eden was also heard. Now the question would be, where exactly are these individuals located in that area? It sounds like they're in Queen Road apartments. Perhaps on the corner somewhere. Because it doesn't sound like they're in Linda Lane apartments, the voices are in the distance, and coming from the left side. But, what are they observing or concerned about? It's logical to suggest Ethan is the main focus during this time frame. We don't know what the setting is, we can only present theories to what might be. Maybe he was missing? Maybe they found out he was in danger, but didn't really know how to deal with it, considering there is a no-snitch policy. Could it be the alleged fight that Ethan had gotten into? Perhaps he was knocked unconscious, or badly beaten up. I'm just throwing possible scenarios out there, because clearly Ethan's name was called, and it was around 2:20 a.m. Ethan and Xana are reported to return home about 1:45 a.m. But maybe they didn't physically go back inside the home initially, perhaps there was a physical altercation that had unfolded in the front yard, or on the property somewhere, which these individuals had been notified about, and observed the fight from their apartment. Note, this could be related to the theory of Ethan and Xana involved in drug trafficking as well. The only way the truth will come out is with a confession. I want you to listen to this segment in the surveillance. You may have heard people talking, but listen closer as I enhance the audio. The female states, quote, poor guy, unquote. A male is heard, and soon after, it sounds like someone was slammed against a vehicle. If you tune into the female voice, you can hear her say, "Poor guy." The male yells out in the middle of her talking, but follow her voice through the male's yell. She definitely said this, which proves a guy was being beaten up. And even slammed against a vehicle. Could this be Ethan? Mind you, the autopsy won't report that he suffered any injuries due to being beaten, because that changes literally everything. I believe this was Ethan, and Xana may have been held at gunpoint. They bring Ethan outside to humiliate him in front of everyone for dumping the drugs. But it wasn't done in front of the victim's home, it was done in that alleyway of Queen Road apartments. It would be too out in the open on King or Queen Road, with the possibility of the authorities driving by on Taylor, overhearing the yelling. So they brought Ethan to the alley and simply beat him. And everyone that stayed in Queen Road apartments were viewing this happen. Interesting. I think that segment of audio is the aftermath. Yes, but it was presented earlier in the surveillance. First Ethan is being beaten, which was this segment. Then, after he was beaten, left on the ground, perhaps even murdered there, the female yells "OMG," and the male yells out to Ethan. Then, the female wants to call the police, but the male stops her, due to the consequences from both the pledge and the drug dealers. Now it seems, she was actually saying, he died, and the male was like, no, no, no. And she is getting angry, as she can tell Ethan is dead. And the more she got louder, this would alarm everyone that somebody was dead. So he, along with another female, tries to quiet her down. Even if she didn't say the words police, her yelling that somebody died is relatively the same thing. So, males picked Ethan up and unfortunately had to take his dead body back to the home. What else could they do? They couldn't snitch, right? We have to accept that the audio provides evidence that Ethan was being beaten and perhaps murdered. This would be before 3 a.m. approximately. Xana would have been separated from Ethan, perhaps beaten in her bedroom. This could be the crying heard in Dylan's affidavit. We can assume Xana was already deceased when Ethan was brought back. The loud thud noise captured by the security camera next door could have been Ethan being dumped in the hallway near Xana's bedroom. And this could be the 3 males spotted running from King Road in the body cam footage, right? The time frames match up. They're spotted running from that direction approximately 3 a.m. Of course it would take time for them to carry that body, which Ethan's death would be approximately around 2:30 a.m. Place the body in the home and haul ass away from the house. The authorities would be oblivious to what had just ran past them. Remember, there were 3 male DNA samples collected, 2 in the home and 1 outside the home in the backyard. Bethany is key, because she obviously spotted something. In the police report, it claims that Bethany saw Ethan and Xana at the frat party from 10 p.m. to 1:45 a.m. But if Bethany is also reported as arriving back home around 1 a.m., how could she have seen them around 1:45 a.m.? Because she literally attended the party with them. Hidden in plain sight, my friends, it's all there. Dylan and Bethany were not together that night, that is false. How do we know this? Because it was never reported that Dylan also saw Ethan and Xana at the party, which means she was somewhere else. We went over this prior. What does this mean? It means Bethany attended that frat party with them as opposed to, quote, seeing them there from 10 p.m. to 1:45 a.m. You are not spotting someone at a party for close to 4 hours, you are at the damn party with them. Which means Bethany had arrived back home with Ethan and Xana. Now put the pieces together. Ethan was attacked in the alley, approximately around 2:20 a.m. Xana perhaps was held at gunpoint and brought back to the home. There was a group of individuals at the home. Remember WSU Kim? Her daughter claims? Those claims came from someone inside the home, remember? This would be, bingo, Bethany. She witnessed everything, or at least Ethan and Xana being dealt with. This is in fact exculpatory evidence, my friends, which definitely would lead to Kohberger being exonerated. Why? Because Bethany knows it wasn't Kohberger, because it was someone else, simple. And also, it happened at an earlier time frame than the alleged Kohberger's arrival. Wait a minute. Didn't Dylan have a boyfriend? No mention of her calling her boyfriend, since she was scared? Interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, he hasn't even been questioned. These little grunts are not to be overlooked. Also, Kaylee and Madison's deaths were right around the corner. They attempted to call Jack S., not Jack the ex-boyfriend. After they heard Xana being attacked, they tried to reach Jack S., but to no avail. They were perhaps beaten first, then murdered. Now we know the autopsy states there were no signs of sexual assault, but there is a reason for claiming there wasn't. If there were signs of sexual assault, then this changes the time frame of death, which also affects the ability of a lone killer to successfully carry out the murders in that house. But multiple killers, who essentially are in control of the situation, could have sexually assaulted those girls, including Xana, before murdering them. You understand? Perhaps they had Ethan in the alleyway being beaten, while the other killers were sexually assaulting Xana in her bedroom. This could also be the reason she was heard crying. Dylan is, quote, frozen in a shocked state, listening and peeking. Now let's touch on Jack S. for a moment. They call Jack, who I'm assuming was not the ex-boyfriend. Yep, there is an adjustment. It was Jack S., fucking right. They called Jack S., as they became concerned about the dangers. Guess we may owe the ex-boyfriend a slight apology. I don't think it was him who was contacted, but I still believe he knew something. But Jack S. didn't answer the phone, because he already knew they were in danger. So he used a bit of discernment to avoid any contact with individuals who he knew would be either attacked or murdered. To his credit, he did warn them beforehand. These are college students, who are like deers caught in the headlights. Jack S. warned Madison, who was drunk. Kaylee appeared concerned, but later on, they appeared to forget about it. Not realizing the danger they were in. Jack S. understood the danger, but what could he do, other than try to watch over them out in the town? Once they got home, they're on their own. I can't really blame him, but he could have answered the phone. But that would cause a trail of evidence to something he would be linked to, and the authorities definitely don't want exposed. So all he could do is escort them around town, providing security detail, as they were unaware of the danger they were in. He tried to focus on having a good time, but he knew those girls were in big trouble. Hands tied though, can't call the police, can't snitch to anyone, because they would snitch on him to someone else, then now he's a target. Kinda rough, isn't it? For the time being, we will also apologize to Jack S., because initially we believed he was doing exactly what we claim now, being a big brother for Kaylee and Madison. We changed that to him luring them to the bar, and so on. First thoughts usually are right. Jack S. was literally tormented with knowing Kaylee and Madison were in danger, yet couldn't do anything, or say anything about it. He told the people he needed to tell, and that's Madison and Kaylee. He tried, and I can commend him for at least warning them. But Moscow PD and the media claims it was the ex-boyfriend they called to protect the element of drug-related murders. They were murdered as well, because they knew everything. What do you guys think? Untangling webs is key to a mystery case. Yes, this is a mystery murder case, because Kohberger is not the killer. These are dangerous individuals where the neighborhood wouldn't have the guts to stop it, nor call the police. All they can do is stand and watch, reacting to what was happening. The goons knew everyone in the neighborhood feared them, so they knew nobody would call the authorities, also because they would violate the oaths of their pledges. It was a strategic plan. You know, there is something spotted in that very surveillance, which was the 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. time frame, that indicated the surveillance was tampered with. Someone was edited out of the footage. Crown Plaza Hotel surveillance, all over again. This is the chaos sector.